Carry on my wayward soul. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Good day, ladies and gents, my name is Hilzo and I'm DiscussThing. I've been missing for the past few days, but I wanted to make a different kind of video, a video that's actually been in the development for the past 2 years, and what actually got me to get off the wagon 2 years ago due to me just not having the time and the proper idea of how to make all those years ago. And also I wanted to make a different video because the past 3 videos that I did were a bit of a more of a downside, well, justified downside, and a bit of bashing into modern entertainment, as we call it. And what I'm talking about today would be a little bit of a going back to what was a bit more pure and a bit more in the spirit of entertainment that we actually need in this day of age. So the idea of what I'm about to talk about came a very long time ago, and I was actually watching for the first time ever Star Trek Enterprise, the TV series, and it was a bit more independent, more close to me. And I started thinking, what shows would actually make it into the future? And I mean 50 years from now, let's say. We already have such shows like Tom and Jerry. They're timeless. We have the original Looney Tunes, as in animations. You have the Star Trek, the original series, and even the Next Generation. So I thought to myself, are there any modern shows that can actually make it, can still have a good amount of viewership? Now, most of the shows that I can think about that will actually make it even 50 years from now are still from the 80s and 90s, like Star Trek, The Next Generation, Stargate, Friends as a comedy TV series, which I think will never lose its following completely, and some of the early 2000s like The Mentalist, Dexter. But I found it hard to actually think of a show that it's a bit more modern. It's like, let's say 5 years ago. Because after a certain point, TV shows became more of telling the story as it is now in a more compressed manner. It didn't take its time to do it, and it rushed to get to the viewer as quickly as possible and have everything brought to them quickly. Now, while this can be good in certain aspects, as to not drag the story, as to keep close to the source material as much as possible in certain cases, it also leaves a little bit of a lack of anything that can be filled and any imaginative powers that a good TV show of modern times can be. Now, one of the TV shows that actually will make it for sure will be The Walking Dead, in my opinion, because it took great liberties with the plots and in adapting the source material it was based on and changing it around, but you would still have a lot of episodes per season. Game of Thrones is also a good candidate to be a bit immortal, although the last season would probably turn a lot of people off. And still, while I'm talking about these shows and their popularity, I don't think that they'll be at as nearly as half as popular as older shows that we consider now are popular today. And at that time, when I was first thinking about this all those years ago, I was introduced to a show that I would consider perfection in every sense of the way. Now, when I say perfection, I don't mean that there aren't flaws in the show, but what happens is that even those flaws are actually incorporated very well into the overall narrative, into the overall plot, and actually complement everything else. And you can actually point out these flaws and not be mad about them because they actually serve a good purpose, which is difficult for a show to do at all. And the show that I'm talking about, and you've seen the title already in the intro, is Supernatural begins in 2005 and it's created by Eric Kripke. After 15 years and 15 seasons and 327 episodes, it ended. Each season has around 20 to 24 episodes, which for modern shows is an absurdly high number. As I mentioned, most shows want to compress the story and give it to you as quickly as possible and not drag along. Not Supernatural though. Supernatural took its time, bringing you side quests, side characters, side episodes that actually connected to the other episodes and bringing you a lot of fun. A lot of Supernatural is fairly simple. Two brothers, their mother killed by a mysterious force that burned down the house and burned her to the ceiling when they were infants. Their father saves them from the burning house and vows to take revenge on the entity. Together they start hunting and start looking for clues on the mysterious entity, learning more and more and trying to catch it all those years ago. Fast forward to 2005. One of the brothers is out and wants to have a normal life. He's in college, everything seems to go well, but suddenly the other brother arrives unexpectedly and tells him that
Dad's on a hunting trip, and he hasn't been home in a few days.
And that's where everything begins. From there, the plot evolves in a spectacular way. It includes mythology, folk tales, history, religion, demons, angels, everything you can think of that you have read in fairy tales, in mythology books, in science fiction, in fictional novels, and is there in an amazing way. One of the most unique things is that the writers for each episode did their homework in a splendid way. They researched the creature or the entity or the situation that would occur. They researched the lore. They researched every mythological aspect and incorporated it into the story so it can serve for a good episodes. And you can see that, as if you have any interest in those things, you can see how much work was put into each episode and bringing out even the obscure information regarding, let's say, an ancient demigoddess or a creature or a leprechaun even.
Wait, merciful, awesome.
One more aspect of the plot and of the TV series in general is that you don't have a lot of happy endings. If I have to think about it, 327 episodes, I think only 7 of them had actually pure happy endings without any bittersweet feeling or something that would later bite them in the ass. Which is a very daring move, because in 2005 most of the TV shows were still riding the wave of the good guys always win, especially TV shows with monsters and good guys to fight them. Seeing this actually brings you a bit closer to reality, and in a good way, because in reality, it's not always going to go smoothly, and that's shown very prominently in the show, and brings the entertainment value very, very high from the very beginning. And that's actually the entire plot. Of course, it evolves, it goes to many different places, but at the focus of it are always the two brothers, Sam and Dean Winchester. They're always there, and their brotherly relationship is as real as it can get. Which brings me to the next section of the video. Sam and Dean Winchester look like your typical templated heroes that you would have in every TV series. That notion lasts for about 15 seconds. Both of them are so uniquely different than one another that all those contrasts and all those sharp stones that they keep having against each other are so well integrated into the show that you're actually clinging to your seat and you're like, I think my brother is like that with me.
If you pull that string one more time, I'm gonna kill you.
They're not perfect in any way whatsoever. They have a lot of inner demons, both of them are struggling with different things, and both of them make a lot of stupid moves. Which again, for a show that started in 2005, it is a bit odd, because you're used to having heroic figures that, yes, they do have some flaws, but they're always making the right choice, they're always doing the good stuff, and seeing this is just a light slap to reality that brings them even more closer to you as a viewer. If I have to classify them as personalities, they're not actually heroes. They're just people that actually do the job. That's it. They do their job. There is actually a bit of a joke at one of the seasons that they could have gotten paid for what they do, but they never thought about it. And the fact that they have so many differences right down to the music that they listen to is just one more thing that fills out throughout the entire show, and it's amazing to watch every time. Speaking of music, and now this is where I am personally biased, because this show's soundtrack is probably the best that I have ever listened to. Everything there is rock music from the 70s, 80s, and it's incorporated perfectly. You have two brothers in a 67 Impala and they're listening to this music constantly. The background music for every episode is amazing, and I'm not going to be much of a fan, and someone will chew me out if I don't say what happens after season 2. At the beginning of the last episode of each season after season 2, you have the road so far, and then you have this one not so popular song, Wink Wink, that plays and shows you everything that has happened throughout the season. And this song has actually become the unofficial official song for Supernatural. You can play this at a convention of Supernatural and you hear a chorus of people just singing along constantly, and the song is actually perfect. The lyrics, the theme, the style is absolutely perfect for the entire show. I can actually convince myself that the show revolves around this song and was actually thought up while the writer was listening to this song. I also want to explicitly mention that Jensen Ackles, who plays Dean, has a couple of his songs from his band Radio Company inserted into the show, and they're inserted beautifully. I found out about that band from one of the episodes because the song was so amazing, and me and my girlfriend were watching me like, what is this song? And it was amazing. Okay, I don't have any clever line to jump to the next topic, but still. Every good show needs good side characters. They fill out the plot, they are a good contributor, and they are sometimes very funny. In this case, the side characters sometimes are better than the main characters. Imagine this, you're invited to a show for a single episode guest appearance for someone that has been mentioned in the previous episodes, and you do such a good job and the public's reception is so good that you actually stay right until the last episode and you make frequent guest appearances and are frequent in a lot of episodes.
Just look out for your brother, you idiot.
Idiot. You think I'm a natural born idiot?
Shut up, you idiot.
Wow, talk about talking out of your butt.
Yeah, just hurry, idiot.
And that's not one character that I'm talking about. I'm trying my best not to be too descriptive of those things, so these cutaways will be your information regarding what I'm saying. You also have amazing female side characters that are actually badass to the bone. Almost every side character that I've witnessed in this show is amazing. There are a few that I personally didn't enjoy as much, but in no way were they detrimental to the story or were forced inserts. It's just that the character itself and the personality did not sit that well with me. There are a lot of people that know what I'm talking about, and a lot of the side characters appear in a single episode or just for a few scenes in that episodes and are not even the main character there, and then suddenly several seasons later you see them constantly in every episode and they're amazing. Which brings me to now, I'm going to share some things with you here. Supernatural was supposed to end after 5 seasons. This is how much Eric Kripke has written and created the show for. However, it was so popular and people wanted more and more that he actually gave his rights to the company and other people started writing for it. And you can see that because the season 5 finale, it's absolutely perfect. It's entirely in the tone of the show, and it is amazing because it brings about the end of everything that they've worked for throughout the previous seasons. What does that mean? That they'll have to come up with original ideas and new villains, new plots, and have them go on for more and more, as well as change the ending of the 5th season as well. And they did that perfectly. Now, I'm not going to say that season 6 through 15 are better than the first 5 seasons, because the first 5 seasons were the best, and I don't think a lot of people can disagree with me. But the next 10 seasons were also absolutely amazing, and they kept the tension, they kept the jokes, they kept the overall feel, and it was actually really difficult to imagine that Eric Kripke was not entirely running the things right. Now, one noticeable change is that at times you could feel that the show was getting lighter and just a bit more on the funny side and not on the suspense side. However, that feeling quickly disappeared when you're introduced to a new villain, a new plot twist, a new thing that the brothers had to deal with. Which brings me to the... I really can't tell you which villain is my favorite, because some villains turn into somewhat good guys and the other way around. You have people who appear good in a single episode and they turn villainous at the end. You have shifters that go from the one side to the other. You have people who are neutral, but every single one that can be considered a villain or anti-hero or just a neutral deity is amazing. They're memorable. You can see the actors in other TV shows, and your first thought after watching Supernatural will be, this is this guy from Supernatural. And that's happened to me a lot, especially as someone who has seen Stargate. And let me tell you, Stargate and Supernatural share a lot of actors, and you're definitely going to, if you have watched Stargate, SG-1 and Atlantis, you definitely see a lot of people in Supernatural. And this is this guy, and this is this guy. And here I have to mention some of the intros that the villains or the supposed anti-hero deities make. And I'm just going to say this: the personification of death in Supernatural has the best TV or movie intro in every respectable depiction out there that I have ever seen. You can compare it to every other, but in my opinion, this is the best that has ever been made on this planet. Julian Richings is the first depiction of death in Supernatural, and his presence, his aura, his acting is something that actually can make you grip your chair while watching, because his performance is not spot on, it's perfection in every sense. It was like he was born to play this specific role, and watching him you feel like if death as a persona really existed, it will be him. And no, I'm not joking about that. However, there are a lot of jokes in the show, which is our next segment. It might sound weird that I'm talking about jokes in Supernatural because it's supposed to be this serious show, but no, it's not. This show is on crack. And I'm absolutely serious, because the jokes, and not just the lines that the characters throw at each other, but the jokes as in episodes, as in what you can watch in an entire episode, the plot summary, it's absolutely bonkers to me. This show actually made a crossover with Scooby-Doo.
Thelma was right. I was a shady real estate developer after all.
And it's one of the most amazing episodes you can actually watch. This show had an entire episode with a malevolent tree spirit that posed as their nanny. This show actually managed to make an R version of having an imaginary friend, and it was glorious. And I think this is one of the key ingredients of this show that makes it so great. You have all these serious things happening throughout the entire series, and just showing in these episodes and these jokes and these lines and these scenes in there.
Hey, dude, what happened? Sam, hey, what am I supposed to do? Fight the fairies! You fight those fairies! Fight the fairies!
Just brings a very good mixture of lightheartedness that would make the show not difficult or heavy to watch, but it will make it interesting enough to continue watching. You have all these shows that are so heavy, they're so serious all the time, like The Walking Dead, Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, and they're always so serious, they're always on the brink of nerves, always on the max of every serious thing that can happen, and this is one scene after the other. Supernatural has that, but it also mixes in jokes and funny scenes and stuff that actually can make you laugh and make you sigh in relief that it's not always going to be one thing. And I think this is why it has such a vibrant community from the very beginning up until this point as well. Speaking of the community, it has actually become a legendary status to have a topic on the internet discussed and turning it into supernatural theme.
Let me be frank.
As long as I can be Dean and Gus can be Sammy. Why do I have to be Sammy?
So, you never go hungry? Huh?
Bread?
And you're, always protective.
Oh, from demons. How traditional of you.
This has been posted for years now on the social media, that a random Tumblr post starts from somewhere and then a supernatural fan just waltzes in and makes it supernatural. The memes are endless and ongoing, and one of the reasons is because supernatural applies to everything. You can apply supernatural to every aspect of your topic, of your conversation, and there is something relatable that happened in the show that you can insert there and have it, first of all, make sense, second of all, be funny, and third of all, makes people, what? Tell me more. This has been going on ever since the show started. The community is unrelenting, they're active, and every one of them is an absolute fan of the show and can recite an episode or two just by memory after being waken up from a drunken sleep, case included. And as we're nearing the end of this review, I think it's proper to talk about the actual ending of the show. You see, the whole supernatural plotline goes a little bit like an anime game. You start by just hunting some demons and just having one monster after the other, and then you end up fighting God. That's it. This is the progression that Supernatural has, and it does it amazingly. You do feel like you're watching an anime progression, and you do see the evolution and everything that these brothers go through, and how they become stronger and how more knowledgeable. They have more tools in their arsenal. They make more and more friends with strong people, and at the end you just see an epic conclusion to everything, and it's done amazingly. And that's the semi-last episode that I'm talking about. I'm not going to talk about the last episode because, like it or not, it is the most proper ending that you'll see for this show. And if you watch the show and if you understand the characters and how they feel about everything, you will know that it had to happen that way. Of course, there is an even better original version of the ending that was thought out, but sadly due to the pandemic, it couldn't be made possible. To summarize, Supernatural is one of the shows that I am personally giving the immortal status. I do firmly believe that after 50 years or even more, this show will have the same, if not even bigger, fan base, because this show does not rely on special effects or something revolutionary in terms of movie technology. It relies heavy on acting, on personalities, on the actors, and on how everything is played out, and of course of the story. And these things are timeless, because you can have the most visually appealing, technologically advanced TV show or movie, and it is going to be irrelevant in 10 years on that aspect. If you don't have a good story and a good plot and something to keep you watching more and more, then everything that you built in the show will go down the drain in a matter of a decade. That's why we watch Star Trek The Next Generation. In every sense of the word, this show is technologically old. Special effects are old, the attempted CGI is also old, but we don't watch it for that. We watch it for all the characters, for all the interactions, for the smart episodes, for the plot, for the everything that was made good, and that the focus was on exploring the universe and expanding the lore and having meaningful episodes that can actually make you think and can make you have deep feelings and connect with the characters. And this is what Supernatural did as well. It is a more recent show, yes. However, in 50 years it will be as old as some of the shows that I mentioned in this video are now. And that's why I'm giving this show the immortal status. I know I'll be watching it when I'm 70, and I know a lot of other people that will be watching it in their elderly years. And I know that a lot of children that are now will get hooked on Supernatural eventually, and they'll watch it and they'll pass it on to their children, because Supernatural is more than a TV show. Supernatural is an experience, and everyone should have good experiences in their life. Thank you for watching this video with me. I know it took a little bit longer, but I wanted to incorporate everything that I can think of in terms of this show, so that you may be hooked or you may find it a little bit interesting to check out if you haven't already. Please let me know down in the comments what you think about Supernatural. Have you watched it? Are you planning to watch it? Did you enjoy this review? Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers and stay fresh.
What are you doing? Well, I mean, at the end of every mystery, Scooby looks into the camera and he says,
Dean, you're not a talking dog.